Good morning, everybody. It's Deborah with Kensington Cross Stitch. It is Saturday, September 2nd, 2023, and I am so excited to be back with you to talk cross stitch for just another little bit. I have a lot to show you today, progress on a wide variety of projects. I've got some plans. We're going to do a giveaway a little bit later in the program. I have some recommendations, a little bit of haul, and a few other things. So I hope that you will enjoy. Hope that you get a lot of good stitching in while we're talking, and thank you for taking time to come and visit with me for a little while today. One thing I will say is the next episode is episode number 15, so I've been thinking about how to celebrate that milestone in a little bit in a couple of different ways. One of which is I was thinking if you're interested, if you have them, I would be happy to do a Q&A. I have no idea if you have questions, but if you do, whether it's about stitching or other hobbies, anything that I talk about in passing and you have some curiosity about, please feel free to put those questions in the chat and I would be happy to answer them in the next episode. So who knows? We'll see. We may have a Q&A. If you have questions, we'll have answers. We'll see how it goes. But as I said, thank you for taking a little bit of time, and I'm looking forward to going through what I have with you today. Since we last met, we've had a couple of things happening. One is the Connecticut Stitching Circle met, and I was not there. I was all ready to go. I got in my car and everything packed up. I'd been looking forward to it for weeks, and I turned the key and the car would not start. So after a whole lot of very unnecessary delays and a lot of money, my car works again. But I was disappointed to have to miss that. But we are going to be getting together again on September 23rd. So if you're in Connecticut or in near enough to Connecticut that this is something that you could participate in, we would love to have you. This is just a casual get together of stitchers. We meet at the Panera Bread in Wallingford. We start at 10 a.m. And we usually go till mid-afternoon or so, just kind of people come in, stop and go as they have time, or come and stay the entire time, but we would love to have you. So that will be 10 a.m. on September 23rd at the Wallingford Panera. We would love to have you. I did get to visit Old Sturbridge Village, which is kind of a living history museum that's just across the Massachusetts border. It's about an hour away from me. And it's a place I've been a couple of times and I had been wanting to get back there. And they frequently have themed weekends. And it's a way, obviously it's a way to encourage people to come who are interested in various different things. And this one was textile weekend. So you got to go and all of the various different buildings and shops and things were related to textile themes. So there were demonstrations about making a tin sewing box. There were things in the potter's shed that were about sewing and textiles and what you could do with them. Talking about how you can dye wool with natural ingredients, flowers, plants, things like that. So it was a really fun opportunity. I enjoyed just getting to go and spend the day there, but it was nice that it had that little bit of an extra theme to it. I did purchase a couple of things in the shop, which I will show you, but I enjoyed that very much. Later today, I'm going to go take a yoga class. I've been starting to do that. It's one of those things that when I was younger, I was like, yoga is hecka boring and I do not want to do this. Why are people into this? And now I'm like, this is the most relaxing thing ever. So just something I've been doing on weekends. So I will be doing that a little bit later. Tomorrow, my mom and I are going to visit another historic house and they're doing there's a theater troupe that's basically doing a version of Pride and Prejudice set at this historic house as if it's Longbourn. And so you pretty much, my understanding is you walk throughout the gardens and the building in small groups and actually see the action. If you dress up, you might get to be brought into the action. Not planning to do that, but it just seems like something fun. So that will be something that we're doing tomorrow and looking forward to it. It's a long weekend here in the US, so I'm going to be just sitting and relaxing and getting some things done. I do have a little bit of work, which is my own fault that I need to do, but mostly it's going to be sitting and relaxing and enjoying the fact that it's a long weekend. So I hope that those of you who are in the US also get to do that. This is kind of the start of a very busy season for me. Next weekend, I'm going to be heading out of town to do a lecture for some attorneys on technology. I've got a couple of retreats coming up, a couple of work trips for another couple of reasons. So sometime basically between September and November, I'm going to be in and out of town doing a lot of things, but it's all fun stuff. Even the work stuff is going to be fun. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a really beautiful time of year to be out and visiting different parts of the country and doing things. So that'll be fun. And I'm hoping that with the traveling, I'll get a lot of stitching done, because there will be the sitting at the airport, the traveling, the doing all those things. So we'll see. But other than that, as I said, it's the start of September, which is, as I say, I feel like I say this every time. It's mind-boggling that it's September. I love fall. I am absolutely a fall girl. But I do have to say, and you'll see this in my stitching, I am clinging on to summer. I did not get all of my summer stitching plans completed, so I'm going to spend a little bit of time doing that before it really gets cool. But I do have to say, I did buy this very cute mug. Did I need a mug? Absolutely not. But it's hedgehogs in like knitwear, and on the inside it says hedgehogs. So did I need this mug? Absolutely not. Did I need this mug? Absolutely, yes. So I am looking forward to heading into fall, even if I'm going to be hopefully doing a little bit of summer stitching before we really get to wrap up. So with that, I think we will launch into the various stitching for the day. So again, thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoy and that you get a lot of good stitching in while we chat. So the first one that I want to show you is, it is a finish. To be honest, I would pretty much call it a start and a finish, except for the fact that I had started it a very, very long time ago. This is one of my older whips, and it was something that I had sitting around, and I was like, I really didn't want to give up on the project, but I decided that I wasn't going to stitch the entire thing as it is originally charted, and so I'd come up with a couple of plans, and I finally said, this is the time to take it, to get it done. So this is something, if you've been with me since the beginning of the channel, something I showed in my whip parade. And this is the Aloha Summer Sampler. I'm trying to remember that the microphone is here. This is the Aloha Summer Sampler from Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. And this is one that came out quite a long time ago. I actually bought it when it first came out, and you'll see it has numbers up here. It was originally a seasonal countdown series that they had. I believe that the newer versions actually take the numbers off, because I think everybody was like, why are we what are we counting down to in 25 in a summer? Like, the number 25 didn't make sense. It makes sense for an advent calendar, but anyway, I think the version of that is available now doesn't include the numbers. And this is one that I started. I had done basically the outlines of the blocks in the center, and I decided that this just wasn't a piece that I was going to finish. So I set it aside, but I didn't really want to lose the work that I had done. So I just decided finally, I don't have to stitch the entire thing, and I just picked out 5 of my favorite motifs and decided to stitch those instead, rather than stitching the entire piece. So I had, for many years, all that was done was the blocks, and now I actually have a finished piece. So this is the 5 pieces that I showed. See, you know what? I got used to it, and now I need to get used to those again. So I just picked 5 that I really liked. The Ferris wheel, the whale, the picnic, fireworks, because of course I love fireworks, and then the camping, because that was something that I did quite a lot when I was younger, and so it has good memories for me. The picnic, I chose one of my favorite summer memories is when I lived in California. My best friend and I went to the Hollywood Bowl, and we saw kind of a semi-staged version of Guys and Dolls. And before the show, we had a picnic dinner, and we sat out, and we just had a really fun evening together enjoying this. And so I thought that that was just a good way to commemorate it. And I took the music from another block and I put it in there to kind of show it. So that is Aloha Summer Sampler by Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. So I will be finishing that one. I'm starting to get a lot of pieces that I need to fully finish, so there will probably be a finishing day pretty soon. The next one that I am working on is another one that I had started a number of months ago and set aside, and I've decided that I want to keep working on it. And this is Gather Wildflowers. And this was the spring version, or the spring chart that came out from Hands On Designs, club set for this year, so that it's a club that you signed up for in advance, and you get a box of 3 charts every season, and they will go on the same backing pieces, and you just switch them out each season. And so I had started this right when I got the first box, and then I set it aside and hadn't done any work on it, and now I have 3 of the 4, with the last one coming fairly soon. I was like, I really need to get started on that. But I've been so focusing on other projects, it just hadn't risen to the top of the stitching queue. And so I've taken it into my office as something to work on. I try and do a little bit of stitching when I'm in the office. It's not every time that I'm there, but while I'm taking my lunch break, doing just a little bit of stitching. And I thought this one might be a good one to work on while I'm there. So I did, I was originally going to get started on, you know, the autumn one and maybe put it up this year, but I was like, I'd started this one, so I should probably actually finish it. So that is where I am on that one. And it is just kind of a little bit of a quilting block with some flowers. So that is my progress there. I've just done a little bit more work inside of the quilt block here to fill in. Really fun colors. So that one is probably something I'm going to make slow incremental progress on, because it will probably be something that I'm working on just a little bit at a time while I'm in the office, but I figure, hey, and it's really fun. So that is Gather Round by Hands On Design, or excuse me, Gather Wildflowers, part of the Gather Round series from Hands On Design. The next 2 whips are my ongoing annual whips. So I am working on a Rainbow Temperature Supernova by Climbing Goat Designs, and this is just a temperature chart that I'm working on throughout this year. And there's my progress. So obviously the weather has just been a little bit warmer. It's still been a fairly cool spring, or excuse me, a coolish summer here, but I'm enjoying seeing that variety of colors there, working on that project. So that is Rainbow Temperature Supernova by Climbing Goat Designs. And then my last whip is the Christmas Market by Twin Peak Primitives. And this is one that I had divvied up, and I'm working on just a little bit each month. And I have actually redesigned the chart a lot. So it's going to be a long, skinny kind of wall runner. And so this is, I'm getting close to the end. So I really have been enjoying working on it. But I'm also looking forward to actually getting it finished. There's only a little bit left to go. So that is my progress. And the one that I worked on this month was the Nutcracker stand. And so it just has all of those little nutcrackers. The chart originally called for it to actually say Nutcracker, but I've been using, everything else is in German, so I did change it to the German for Nutcracker. And again, as you can see, it's getting pretty long. We are getting there. I only have 2 more sections to work on, so I do have one more of these brown charts. And that's kind of a Santa's, and then in the bottom I'm going to have this market stall, and I've added a couple of extra people, so basically it'll be like them walking into the market and walking up. So the piece that I just showed you was my September section. I have the Santa stall for the piece I just showed you was from August. The next one is going to be the Santas in September, and then that last piece in October for the market entrance. It's not a lot of stitching, that one, so I think it's at least possible that once I do the September piece, I'm just going to keep going and finish up the piece and get done just a little bit early, but I'm not going to beat myself up if that doesn't happen either, because I've still got time. I did ask in my last video, I was thinking, do I need to put a border around this one? Because even though the edges do line up at least with one stitch on either side, it is a little bit kind of uneven looking, and would a border help with that? And I got several people who said yes, and then several people who also said, if you're going to frame it, a frame will functionally do the same thing and frame it in that way with that a border might do, which I thought that's also true. And that is actually how I am planning to finish this. So I do like the idea of a border in this case. I know I said I like a border. I don't normally do that. But in this case, I think because I'm planning to frame it, it might actually be sort of a double border that's unnecessary. So we'll see. But I think that that would functionally solve kind of my issue of it doesn't really look like things necessarily line up in the way that I was thinking. But anyway, I really like it. It's been fun to work on it, but I'm also getting to the point where it's exciting to think about the fact that it's almost done and I will be able to fully finish it and get it up for this year. So that is Christmas Market by Twin Peak Primitive. And then I have several new starts to show you as well. So I did do a series of kit parades for several videos over the summer, and in one of them I talked about what is going to be my new annual projects. As I know I'm getting finished with the Christmas market, I wanted to be thinking about what is I want to be doing over the course of the next year. And one of the things that I like doing is picking larger projects and then breaking them into manageable pieces, because I tend to be much more of a small stitcher. And so I'm worried that for these bigger pieces, I might lose momentum, or I might spend like over stitch on them and lose my interest. And so put them aside and not finish them, because you don't necessarily get that kind of feeling of a finish that you do with all of the smalls. But there are larger pieces that I do want to have done. And so this kind of process of taking a larger project, breaking it into manageable pieces, feeling like I do meet goals on a regular basis that get me to the final product is something that I really liked. It worked well for me, and I wanted to do something like that again in the new year just in the year, in the next coming year for that for myself. So the project that I decided to work on is the ABC's seasonal series from Little House Needleworks. And there's one for obviously each of the seasons, and there are these long skinny kind of alphabets. And what I have decided to do is divide them up over the course of the year, and I'm going to stitch each of these in essentially 3 sections. I don't know why I'll show you the winter one, and it's the worst photo. You can't see anything. So it's an alphabet that runs down the piece with various different motifs. And so what I'm going to be doing is dividing each of those into 3 and then working on that over the course of a 3-month period. By the end of it, I'll have it finished. I will be able to fully finish it in order to have it up and on display for that season. And then I continue on with the next one. So for example, in September, October, and November, I'm going to be working on the winter piece, so that by the end of that, I'll do a 3rd in September, a 3rd in October, a 3rd in November. And then by then, I will have chance to actually fully finish it and have it up for December, January, and February, during which I'm working on the spring piece and can do that. So by the end of the year, all 4 of them will be done, but they're broken up into kind of manageable chunks. So that is what I am planning to do with this. And I had said in the kit parade, if anybody else wants to join me, please feel free in kind of taking this approach to the series. Judith did sign up and she said, I'd love to do it. So we've got at least one other person who is doing this, but if you would like to join us, we would love to have you. We'll use this the hashtag A Year of ABC's Sal. I'll put this in the show notes and on the screen. So A Year of ABC's Sal. And that way we can kind of work on it. I know we're starting it as of September, so I know this is a little bit of a late announcement if you didn't see the kit parade, but it's very loose, so feel free to join in. You can if you want to only do one of them, whatever. So we would love to have you. And what we're planning to do is, let me see if I remember this here. We're going to do A through I for the first month, and then J through, I believe it's R for the second section, and then S through Z. So in September, A through I, in October, J through R, and then in November, S through Z, and that's how we're dividing them up. But we would love to have you. So that is the preliminary on this, and then I can actually show you my project. And then one of the things that I had done was I had chosen a series of 32 count fabrics by XG Design. They sell often kind of offcuts of their linen, and so I'd gotten a whole bunch of long skinny pieces, which is exactly what I need for this type of project. And I divided them up and was planning to do that, and so I pulled out the piece that I was planning to use for this, which is Frozen Leaves, and I started to stitch on it Thursday night. I cheated and I started on the 31st. And I put a couple of stitches in and I was like, you cannot see this floss. It's a white floss. It is, what I hadn't really thought of is it is predominantly white stitching. You can barely even see it here. So it's predominantly white floss, and it just was not showing up on this fabric. So I was like, okay. So then I pulled out the other two and I thought, well, maybe I can just switch things around and I can, do that. It does not show up on either of these either. So then I went and dug through my stash and I found a couple, and I thought, well, maybe this pink will work. This is a vintage poinsettia by Forbidden Fiber, and I thought maybe that would work. And then I pulled out this one, which is Eucalyptus by Atomic Ranch Fabrics. And I thought maybe that would work, but in both cases, there's a dark green that is used, and I thought that would clash with the eucalyptus. There's a red that I thought might not necessarily work with the pink. And so I finally said, you know what you should do is you should just listen to Helen D. And one of the things that Helen D always says is if she's stitching a winter scene, stitch it on blue fabric because the white actually pops. I've done this with a previous project and I was like, hey, this works. It's perfect. I didn't think of that in this case. And so I finally was like, or I could just pull out a blue fabric. So I had a 1/4 yard of a blue fabric that I had set aside for another project, went in, grabbed it out of that project bag and did it. And of course, everything pops. You can see everything right away. So I knew that Helen was right, but now I know Helen is right about this. If you've got a winter scene and a lot of white floss, use a blue fabric. So I didn't even bother taking this out of the hoop. I did test this yesterday. I just put in just a length of floss to see if it would work. It works great. So we will be using this one, which is a 32 count French blue by Fabrics by Stephanie. I mean, I haven't even bothered kind of doing anything with it. I just was like, I just need to make sure that this is going to work. So it is. And so I will be working on that project this month. So again, if you would like to join us, we would love to have you just working on that. And we hope to, you'll be seeing progress on this one for quite some time because it's my new annual project. So I hope that you enjoy that one. And then I have one other new start for you. Things out of the way here. So those of you who are longtime viewers will know I tend to focus on, cutesy, more modern designs. I am not somebody who typically stitches samplers. I'm not somebody who typically stitches like fancy ladies. I think they're beautiful, just not my style of stitching. But I saw one at Stitch New England a couple of months ago and I was like, this is beautiful. I want to stitch this. So I picked up Miss Spider by Nora Corbett. And I like this in part because I really love the pattern, but it's a small one. So I figure if you're going to do one for a test, why not? So this is a Nora Corbett, and this is my first one. I am not going to actually stitch the entire thing. What I really like is the figure of the woman in that dress. I think that she looks like a Gothic librarian. And so what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be stitching the figure of the woman, her hands out, but I'm not going to stitch any of the kind of the spider elements. I think it's really lovely, but I just want to do that kind of very svelte Gothic librarian look. And Pam, who is the owner of Stitch New England, has a monthly Zoom, which is the Fancy Folk Zoom, and it's open to anybody who is stitching a Nora Corbett, a Mirabilia, all of the other names of companies that I don't remember. So if I don't know if there's openings, you're welcome to email her and check and see, but it's people from across the country. And we meet once a month. And so I joined in on that for the first time last week. It was fun. I didn't say a whole lot. I mostly just sat and stitched and kind of listened to everybody else chatter. But it was fun to kind of see people, what they were working on. There's actually several other people doing this project right now. So it's a good excuse to sit and stitch for a little while and spend some time listening to people talk about stitching or whatever else it is that they're chatting about. So I will be working on this one probably just in those Zooms, because I figure I'm in no rush to get it done. It's something to kind of enjoy. But I did get a good start on my project. So I am stitching this on 36 count beetroot by Fox and Rabbit. And I got my lady and the yoke of her dress finished in that first Zoom call. So it was really fun. I enjoyed it. I'm stitching it 1/2 since it's 36 count. It's making it very delicate. And I'll keep working on it. I actually would have gotten a little bit more done, but I changed the color of her face. The first one that I had chosen it had obviously some green undertones, and so she actually looked more like a zombie. And I was like, let's take that out, and changed it. But yeah, so I'm enjoying it. It's not my usual kind of stitching, but I had a really good time. I do have to say, because of course I'm completely inexperienced of this, is I just thought, I bought this beetroot and I was like, I need to use that for something. And this was just, I thought, a great project for it. And I was like, okay, I didn't even think about it. I didn't think about the fact that it was a 36 count. The pattern calls for a 32 count. And those of you who do stitch this type of pattern more are probably like, that's going to mess up your beading. Yes, it will probably mess up the beading a little bit, but I will say, because I'm only stitching a portion of the fabric or a portion of the design, there are not as many beads as there are in the rest of the pattern. And so I figure I'll just make it work. If I need to, I'll maybe pick a couple of smaller beads. But I figure I'm sure I can find something that will work. There's basically beads in her hair, along the yoke of her dress, and then at the very bottom of the dress there. But most of the beading is actually in the elements that I am not stitching. So I will cross that bridge when I come to it, but I figured it was not... I love the fabric enough that I will figure out how to make it work, as opposed to picking something else that is a 32 count. So anyway, I am embarking on this new adventure. We'll see how it goes, but you will see that, like I said, probably fairly slow progress because it's something I'll only work on once a month, but something new, so why not? Okay, that is the last of my stitching that I had actually made progress on in the last little while. I do, as I said at the beginning, well, I don't think I said this part, but I didn't get as much stitching done this summer as I had hoped. I had a lot of plans. I just was working on other crafts and I was away and just doing other things. And so I didn't get as much stitching done as normal. And one of the things that my plan for this year was to do a number of summer smalls for my summer display. I have a shelf right across from where I'm sitting, where I normally have kind of a seasonal display of different projects. And I've stitched enough of all of the other seasons that I have enough for a display at this point. Summer, I do not. Most of what's been up all summer has just been kind of anytime pieces that I was using to fill in, but I don't really have that many specifically summer pieces, and I wanted to get some of those done this summer and didn't. So even though it's September and I think a lot of people are thinking about and moving towards autumn stitching, I am going to try and get a couple more summer pieces finished in this kind of period where it's early September, but it's not technically fall yet. And that way, even if I can finish them over the course of the year, fully finish them over the course of the year, but that way, when I get to decorating next summer, I'm still not in the same position of going, oh yeah, I still don't actually have any summer pieces to put up. So my goal and my plans for the next kind of 3-4 weeks will be to try and get a couple more of those pieces done so that I have them up for next year. So I will show you what I'm planning to work on. A couple of them you've seen before, but I will show you. So the first one that I am wanting to do, and this is going to be the one that I start next, is Salty Seagulls by Helen D. And this is a pattern that she recently released, and you can buy it from Cobwood Corner, The Daily Stitcher. I will look it up, but this is something that you can buy as a PDF or as a print pattern there. And I just think it's really, really cute with those seagulls. I have what I hope is going to be a really, really cute finish idea for it too. But of course I have to get it stitched first. And so I will be using most of the called for colors. I think there were 1 or 2 substitutions that I needed to make, but I just pulled from my stash to do that. So I have those. And then I'm going to be stitching it on this 28 count even weave. This is something that I dyed myself a number of years ago. It's kind of a cantaloupe orange mottled, and I really just need to use it up. And I think it will be really great for those colors. So that will be what I'm planning to stitch it on. So that one will be the first piece I get started on, and that's Salty Seagulls. The next one that I would like to work on is Iced Tea by Little House Needleworks. This is fully kitted. It came with the Belle Soie silk, and then I put in a piece of fabric. I think it's a 32 count. But something I've had in my stash for quite some time and I would like to get done. I'm not going to stitch the entire thing. I will probably just stitch the glass and the flowers and do that as the top of a pillow finish. But that's one that I would like to get started on. And then the last one that I would like to do is one of my very favorite hands-on design pieces, and this is Turnip the Beet, which is really fun. And I'm going to do it on the dark fabric. So I have a kind of a plain 20 count Aida, and then I will use all of the called for DMC. And I'm leaving this one to last in part because I think that these colors, they can call out spring, they can call out summer, they can actually feel autumn-ish. So I think that that might be the transition piece to move us from summer stitching into autumn pieces. But those are the couple. They're all fairly small, so I'm hoping that I can get those done this month and again have them fully finished and up for my summer display next summer. So we'll see. I'm clinging on to summer stitching. So with that, I think that's the stitching I've been working on. That's my plans. The next thing that we're going to do is a little bit of a giveaway. I haven't done one of these in a while, and it's a chance to say thank you. I really do appreciate everybody who comes and watches each of the videos, who comments, who subscribes, who likes, who drops in from time to time. I really do appreciate it, and this is just an opportunity to say thank you. So I have 2 pieces that I will be giving away. The kind of the usual things that everybody says at this stage. You do need to be 18 in order to enter, because I'm going to have to ask for your address. I am going to ask for your address, and so you need to be 18. Please don't use words like giveaway or free or freebie, because that will bring down the spammers and the people who kind of look for those kinds of things. So if you can just not use anything like that. I do things a little bit differently, and I just ask you to use a numeric number or a numeral in your comment rather than a particular keyword. And then I do also have a Google form that I will just say, if you're interested in submitting, in entering, make sure that I have your address on that form. It's called the Pen Pals form, and it's linked to in the description box below. And so if you're interested in winning, I need to already have your address, because then I don't have to track you down. We don't have to worry about comments and missing people and you forgot that you entered or anything like that. If you're interested, put your name and address, the information that's requested in the Pen Pals form. No one else has access to it except me. If you can't remember if you've given me your name and address before, put it in again. Nobody else sees it. I can figure it out. So you will need to do that, and then you will use the number that I'm asking about. And then what I'll do is I'll use a random comment picker to choose the winners. So sound like a plan? All right. So the two pieces that I will be giving away is a couple of that I've actually received recently, and I've decided I'm not going to be stitching. It's so funny. I always feel like in other aspects of life, people be like, so you're giving me your like hand-me-downs or like regifting something? Thanks. Whereas I feel like in the cross-stitch community are like, oh, you're not going to stitch that, but you're going to give it to me? Fantastic. I love it. So yeah, they're ones that I received in various kind of surprise boxes. Not something I'm planning to stitch, but I would love to give them to somebody who loves them and wants to stitch them. So that's what we're going to be doing. So the first one, and for this one you will use the number 1 in your comment, like the numeral 1 in your comment somewhere, is Santa's Stuffies by Teresa Corbett. And this was in the Crazy Annie's Christmas box. And it is this Santa holding adorable little stuffed animals. There's a little sheep and a little pig. Really cute. I'm not a huge Santa stitcher, as I've talked about, but I think it's just, her Santas are adorable. So if you would be interested in this pattern, just use the numeral 1 in your comment, and I will draw that before the next video. And then the other one that I would like to give away, and for this one you'll use numeral 2, is Be Kind. And this is by Chessie and Me. And it's kind of a patriotic piece, but of course you could change that flag or leave it off if you would like to. It's a little bee-themed historic piece from Chessie and Me, reproduction version. It is fully kitted. I received this from the Silver Needle, so it has the fabric, it has all of the floss that you will need, and a needle. So if you're interested in this one, please use the number 2, the numeral 2, and that is for Be Kind by Chessie and Me. So like I said, I'm happy to ship worldwide, and I hope that you are interested. If you're interested in them, make sure you fill out the Pen Pals form, use those numerals in your comment, and we'll go from there. So enjoy and good luck. That takes us into the last segment of the video, which is our recent acquisitions haul portion. And I don't have a huge amount to show, but a couple of things. One, I do have to tell you, in the little Chessie and Me kit, it came with 2 little surprise extras that I'm keeping because they're really super cute. And it was these little felted things. So I got a little felted bee and a little felted ladybug. I am going to keep those, sorry, but they're really, really cute, and I'm going to keep those in my collection. So that's part of my recent acquisitions. One of the things that I did do on the weekend that I did not go to the stitching circle because my car wasn't working was that weekend was also a kind of like a Made in Connecticut craft fair, or not even craft fair, it's just sort of things that were made in Connecticut, and it happened to be at the fairgrounds in my town, and so I popped over and just checked a couple of things out. Lots of random different things, but one of the things that I picked up was these little, I forget what they're called, but they're basically the bling to go on your pair of Crocs shoes. I knew Crocs were still around. I didn't know the bling was still popular, but I picked up a couple. I've got a little Captain America, a little plant from Super Mario, Baby Yoda, and then an In-N-Out, because In-N-Out is great. And I think I'm going to try and see if I can turn these into needle minders. I don't know how that will work with this sort of plasticky fabric, or whatever it's made out of. But I'll try it out and see, and if not, they're fun and I'll come up with something. So I got those. I did get my most recent Atomic Ranch Fabrics shipment from Stitch New England, and that one is Pampas Grass, or no, excuse me, Pampas Reed. And it's just a very nice neutral, so that one will be added to my stash. I did, I finally picked up, and then I finally printed, so this is something I did a little bit a while ago, is Hands-On Designs. N is for narwhal, and this is one of her recent series. This is the Polar Plunge series, and the last one in the series is available on her website as a digital only version, and this is the version that all of the proceeds go to support Special Olympics, and they're using as a fundraiser. So I did pick up a copy of that one. Very cute, and a couple of little narwhal. Great. So that is on the Hands On Design website. And then the last couple of things are some things that I picked up when I was at Sturbridge Village. I did mention I went up there for textile weekends, and they, of course, have a historic shop. So, of course, you have to pick things up in the shop. So the first one is these quilt labels, and they're just little fabric pieces that I guess you put in the corner of your quilt, and you can put, you can write the name of who made it. You can write the person who is gifted to. Things like that is, I think, what they're used for. I just thought that they were cute. One is a cat sleeping on a pile of blankets, and one is a little, kind of a little child feeding some sheep. So I thought those were cute. I might just turn them into kind of little decorative pillows rather than use them on quilts, but I thought they were cute. Pick those up. One is kind of a local New England, Massachusetts artist, and it's this card that is some very fancy cats eating in a fancy cafe, and I'll turn that into a thread card. So that one was fun. I did pick up a cross stitch pattern. They had a couple of them there, and this is a Posy Collection kit, and it says a bed without a quilt is like the sky without stars. And it's fully kitted. It comes with Ada, and I assume all of the DMC that you need. I will probably actually not use the kit items. I think I will change the colors of it a little bit and probably choose a different fabric. So when I'm done, I will actually be able to essentially give the full kit away again. But I really liked that pattern, so I picked that one up. And then the last thing that I picked up is adorable. Sleepy Sheepy. It's a little book, and it's about a sheep that does not want to go to sleep. And it's really cute. The artwork is adorable. It is just the cutest little book. And it's one of those things that you see and you're just like, I don't actually know. I don't actually care, but it's really, really cute. And I need to pick it up. And look at this. He's just not sleepy. It reminded me a lot of, there's a very similar book about the pigeon from the Pigeon series by Mo Willems. There's one about the pigeon who doesn't want to go to bed. So in this case, it's Sleepy Sheepy. I have to go to, or I'm going to a press event on Tuesday because next week, Wednesday is National Read a Book Day, and then Friday is International Literacy Day. So there's a press event kind of with some local leaders and library people talking about this. And so I get to go. Part of my job is to go and talk about things, go to these events and make people feel good about reading, which is a really awesome thing to do in your job. So I'll be doing that. And I'm still trying to figure out, I'm going to figure out a way to work in the Pigeon series into my comments because the Pigeon series is adorable. But also adorable is Sleepy Sheepy. They had 3 copies. I picked up 2 copies, one for myself, one for a little cousin who's having a baby, and then my mom picked up a copy for her collection as well, because I was just like, Sleepy Sheepy is adorable. So does that have anything to do with cross stitch? No. Is it adorable? Yes. And I highly recommend Sleepy Sheepy. So with that, we are all finished for today. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me. I hope that you got to get in some good stitching, enjoyed the projects that we talked about. Just as a reminder, if you're interested in entering for the giveaway, use the numeral 1 for the Teresa Kogut pattern, use the numeral 2 for the Chessie and Me pattern, and then also in preparation for episode 15, if you've got questions, I've got answers. Leave them in the comments and we'll see. And if you don't, no worries, we won't have a Q&A. We'll find out. Anyway, have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope that you got in some good stitching, and we'll talk again soon. Bye, everybody.